Have you heard of the widow's tax? The widow's tax is that extra tax, that higher tax that a survivor will pay when their spouse has passed away because they've gone from married filing jointly with their spouse to now filing as a single filer. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about Bob and Mary. Bob has a pension of $30,000 a year, which he set up as 100% joint survivor, so that if anything happens to him, Mary will get the same exact amount of pension for as long as she's living. Bob has Social Security of $36,000 a year, and Mary has Social Security of $18,000 a year. She's getting a spousal benefit equal to half of Bob's. And then they're taking $50,000 a year from their IRA. That's a total of $134,000 of income. Now, of that, $125,900 is taxable because they only pay tax on 85% of their Social Security. That's the maximum Social Security that is taxable under current law. They also get to then deduct their standard deduction. That's $30,000 as the basic deduction, and then an extra $1,600 per person. They get to deduct $33,200 that they don't pay tax on, and so they're going to pay income tax on $92,700. That puts them in the 12% tax bracket at the upper end of that, and their tax is $10,647. Now, what if Bob had passed away last year, or Mary had passed away last year? Well, the survivor would still have that pension of $30,000 a year. The survivor would have the bigger Social Security check. So they would have $36,000 a year from Social Security. And then they could still have the $50,000 a year from the IRA. That's a total of $116,000 a year of income. So that's less income than they had jointly. So you would think maybe they would have a lower tax bill. Of that, $110,600 is taxable because, again, only 85% of the Social Security is taxable. And then the survivor is now filing as a single filer, so they get a $15,000 standard deduction and then an extra $2,000 for being over the age of 65. So they get $17,000 as their standard deduction. When they take $110,600 minus the $17,000, they're going to pay tax on $93,600. That's a little bit more than they were paying tax on jointly, but not a lot. $92,700 to $93,600. However, because this is a single filer, the survivor is subject to those tax brackets that are for a single filer. They're now in the 22% bracket, not the 12% bracket. And they're going to pay tax in the amount of $15,506. So the survivor has a little less income, roughly the same taxable amount, but they're going to pay about 30% more in income tax. Instead of $10,600, they're paying $15,500. That's what we call the widow tax. And you need to think about that at the beginning of retirement so that you can have a plan in place. You can be working out a plan. Often when we're doing tax planning, it takes a number of years to make the changes that you want to position things in the place that you want them to be. And so you need to start thinking about that at the beginning of retirement so that you can have a plan in place to make sure that the survivor is going to have the flexibility that they need to have in order to meet their income needs. While some of the expenses would go away, a lot of the expenses would still be very much the same. They're fixed expenses. And so you want to have the survivor have some flexibility to meet those income needs without paying significantly more in tax from that point forward. This is what we call forward-looking tax planning, and is something that you need to be engaged in. You need to work with your financial advisor. If you don't have a financial advisor that does forward-looking tax planning, you need to find one that does forward-looking tax planning. And if there are any questions that I can answer, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I could answer to help you with your tax plan in retirement so that you're on your best path in retirement.